Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Carnell Sledge and Katherine Brown? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Carnell Edward Sledge was born on April 3, 1979, and was raised in Bedford, Ohio. From 2013 to 2018, Carnell worked as a special education specialist for the Westlake City School District. He then worked as an audio-visual technician at a company called Crescent Digital. In addition to working full-time, Carnell volunteered as a youth consultant for a non-profit agency called Applewood Centers Incorporated, which provided mental health services to children, adolescents, and families. Carnell lived in North Olmsted, which is about 18 miles west of Cleveland. Sometime around 2007, Carnell became friends with a woman named Katherine Colby Brown after they physically collided in a bar. Katherine, who went by the name Kate, was born on October 12, 1985, and was raised in Olmsted Falls, Ohio. In 2004, she graduated from high school. Since 2012, Kate worked for a company that sold jewelry on eBay called QCG Goods. She lived in Fairview Park, about 15 miles west of Cleveland. Kate once struggled regulating her intake of alcohol, but she gained her sobriety in 2017. She regularly exercised in her apartment building's gym. In addition, she frequently visited the Cleveland Metro Park's Rocky River Reservation. This is a massive, long and winding park that follows the Rocky River. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On Tuesday, June 4, 2019, two kayakers, Caitlin and Tony Vacha, were driving on Valley Parkway in the Rocky River Reservation. When they were just north of Lorraine Road, they pulled into a small parking lot near the Rocky River. They were looking for a place to launch their kayaks. This was at 5:19 p.m. They exited their vehicle and noticed the body of a man next to a park bench just a few feet from the river. His eyes were open, and he had a wound to the back of his head. The couple also saw the body of a woman about 6 feet away with her face down in the river. Caitlin called 911 at 5:22 p.m. The police arrived quickly. Here is what they found during the course of their investigation. The man next to the park bench was Carnell Sledge. The woman face down in the water was Kate Brown. Carnell had been shot twice in the back of the head. Kate had been killed by a single gunshot wound to the back of her head. The police did not say what type of weapon was used, only that it was a small caliber firearm. Perhaps the perpetrator used a pistol chambered in something like .22 long rifle. 3 spent cases were found in the river near Kate's body. Nothing was stolen from the scene of the murders. The police were able to reconstruct the activities of Carnell and Kate leading up to their murders. Kate went to work that day. She signed into the gym at her apartment complex at 3:38 p.m. At 4:02 p.m., Carnell sent Kate a text message asking if she wanted to meet. Some sources indicate that Kate is the one who texted Carnell and requested the meeting. I don't know which account is correct, but either way, the meeting was not planned long in advance. Kate called Carnell at 4:10 p.m. They stayed on the phone for about 10 minutes, presumably making the arrangements to meet. The purpose for the meeting remains unknown. Carnell left work at 4:24 p.m. He was supposed to arrive at his grandmother's house between 5 and 5:30 p.m. for a family dinner. The location of the park where Carnell planned to meet Kate was in the opposite direction. Yet Carnell never contacted his family and said he would be late for dinner. At 4:31 p.m., Kate signed out of the gym in her apartment building. Kate's Toyota sedan was captured by a police cruiser dashboard camera at 5:01 p.m., about a mile away from the park bench. Carnell's Mazda SUV was captured by the same camera at 5:03 p.m. At 5:08 p.m., Kate's phone was unlocked. She was alive and with Carnell at this time. As I mentioned, the 911 call was placed at 5:22 p.m. However, Caitlin and Tony, the kayakers who called, arrived at 5:19 p.m. They did not see any vehicles driving away from the parking lot. The murders must have occurred between 5:08 p.m. and 5:19 p.m., an 11-minute window. There was a roofer in a pickup truck in the south end of the parking lot, about 125 feet from the park bench where the murders occurred. The roofer saw Carnell and Kate arrive at the park, but did not see or hear the shooting because he was working on his laptop. The police examined his electronic devices and confirmed he was active during the time of the murders. These murders were highly unusual. They happened when the park was full of people. There were individuals running, riding bicycles, driving. It was a busy time in the park. Probably one of the worst times to commit a crime if the offender was interested in escaping responsibility. The police interviewed hundreds of people and checked out everyone connected to the murder victims. They ruled out many key people as potential suspects. For example, a man with a criminal history who Kate went out with the Friday before the murders had a confirmed alibi. Similarly, Kate's former boyfriend and Carnell's former girlfriend had alibis which were confirmed. At the time I'm making this video, the double murder remains under investigation and no one has been arrested. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Why were Carnell and Kate meeting on the day of the murders? These two were friends who often supported each other through challenging times. They were not romantically involved, at least it does not appear that way. The night before the murders, Kate had been with her former boyfriend. If she requested the meeting, maybe Kate wanted Carnell's opinion about a possible reconciliation with her former boyfriend, like to see if Carnell thought this would be a good idea. Carnell had once suggested that he and Kate might end up together romantically. If Carnell was the one who requested the meeting, maybe he wanted to talk to Kate about starting a romantic relationship. Maybe Kate spending the night with the former lover made Carnell realize that he needed to act if he wanted to be with Kate. Whatever the purpose of the meeting was, there must have been some degree of urgency because Carnell prioritized it over his family dinner. Item number 2, how did the perpetrator carry out the shooting? I am operating under the assumption the perpetrator was a man, but of course the killer could have been a woman. Most likely, the killer simply walked up behind Carnell and Kate as they were sitting on the park bench. The gun was close to them when it discharged because the spent cases were found in the river. It is unlikely the killer would have picked up the spent cases and then thrown them in the river. The perpetrator shot Carnell once in the head, turned his gun toward Kate as she stood up and shot her twice, then shot Carnell for a second time when he was on the ground. It's also possible that the killer shot Carnell twice in the head before turning his attention to Kate. Some people have argued that the killer must have been an incredible shot to strike Kate's head as she was running away, but I think she was probably hit just after standing up. She was startled by Carnell being shot, stood up from the bench, and was struck before she even had a chance to turn around and face the shooter. I find it curious that the killer shot Carnell a second time to make sure he was dead, but did not shoot Kate a second time. Maybe Carnell was the target, or the killer simply became frightened and wanted to get out of the area quickly. As far as getting away, this location in the park does not have a large number of escape options. The Rocky River sits to the east, and a heavily wooded area sits to the west. There is a trail about 400 to 500 feet through the woods, but that would have been difficult to reach. I think the killer probably drove away in a motor vehicle. Item number 3. Some people wonder how the roofer in the pickup truck failed to witness the murders. He was sitting about 125 feet away with a relatively unobstructed view of the park bench. Understandably, he would not have been looking in the direction of the park bench if he was working on his computer, but how did he fail to hear the gunshots? As I mentioned, the weapon used in the murders may have been a pistol chambered in .22 long rifle. The sound signature of this caliber is mild compared to larger calibers like .38 Special, 9mm Luger, or .45 ACP. In addition, there are many other factors that could have reduced the probability of hearing the gunshots. For example, maybe the windows of the truck were rolled up, the radio could have been on, and there may have been a lot of traffic. Sometimes when people are engrossed in their work, they become insensitive to outside stimuli. The roofer had no reason to expect a double murder that day in the park, therefore did not maintain heightened awareness. Item number 4. Even though there are good explanations for why the roofer did not witness the crime, there is another element related to his presence that does not make any sense. Why did the perpetrator commit the crime when he could clearly see the roofer in the pickup truck? The presence of the roofer would have represented a significant deterrent to most criminals, but the killer proceeded anyway. This indicates an extraordinary degree of recklessness. The perpetrator was highly motivated to complete this killing. He could have waited for a better opportunity, but he chose not to. He committed the shooting in broad daylight, in a busy park, in front of a witness. Item number 5. Let's take a look at the 3 major theories in this case. Theory number 1 is one or both of the victims were specifically targeted. This theory would include a motive based on jealousy. The police have ruled out the obvious potential suspects with a romantic motive, but maybe one of the victims had a secret lover. The histories of Carnell and Kate were not consistent with an organized crime killing or anything like that. The meeting in the park was planned just an hour or so in advance. Nobody could have known about the meeting. Maybe someone followed one of the victims, but they would have passed the same police vehicle that Carnell and Kate drove past. Again, this was only about a mile away. Even if somebody did specifically want to kill this couple, killing them in broad daylight, in front of a witness, and with a police vehicle a mile away is not a good strategy. Theory number 2 is a robbery gone wrong. This seems unlikely because Carnell and Kate never even had a chance to hand over any belongings. They were shot in the back of the head. Furthermore, nothing was taken from them. Theory number 3 is a random killing. This would include a hate crime. The perpetrator saw a black man and a white woman together on a park bench and assumed they were romantically involved. He became enraged due to racism and decided to kill them. This theory explains a lot. It provides a motive, it explains the anger that led to the perpetrator being reckless, and it explains why nothing was taken. On the other hand, this theory has many of the same problems as theory number 1. Even people who kill randomly based on hatred do not want to get caught. Killing in broad daylight doesn't make sense. When considering all the theories, how would I rank them as far as likelihood? All the theories of this double murder involve unlikely circumstances, yet one theory must be true. It's important here to look at the relative probabilities. How likely is one theory as compared to another? I think the most likely theory is number 3. This killing was random and may have been based on hatred. Then I would move to theory number 1. The victims were specifically targeted. Finally, theory number 2. A robbery gone wrong. Now moving to my final thoughts. In many double murders, the victims had some idea that their lives were in danger. There was a jealous ex-husband out there somewhere, an unstable neighbor, a rebellious teenager. There was some type of identifiable threat. In this case, there was not. Carnell and Kate had no idea that somebody was going to kill them. Whatever the motive for the killing, it's frightening to think that this killer is still on the loose. Anyone who could commit this type of crime continues to represent a danger to society. Their next offense could happen anywhere, for any reason. To this killer, it's just a walk in the park. Those are my thoughts in the case of Carnell Sledge and Katherine Brown. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They consistently generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.